All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 8 of the Jason Scalora Show. Back again.
We back.
With this man,
Ivan. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. So what's good, man?
Yeah, life's good. Everything's good. I've been, what have you been focusing on? I got something I'm thinking about if you want me to go first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really having a lot of conversations and just talking to people about just being yourself.
Go a little deeper because that just sounds so
No,
cliche.
yeah. I was planning on going deeper. It's
No, just leave it at that. That's better.
Yeah, be yourself. We can end it right now.
I think we'll wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in.
No, it's there was like last podcast I came out of here like angry.
Yeah, me too.
Like not usually angry, and I was trying to figure out why. I've been trying to do things that aren't me. One thing, I've been watching a lot of preachers, so I'm like, I want to be a preacher, or like talk in a way that a preacher does, but that's not me. That's one thing I've been doing. Another thing is just like, I wouldn't say trying new things, doing things that I know I don't like.
So do you think it's trying new things, but for the wrong reasons?
Okay. I would say that. Just, I had a good conversation with a friend of mine at the gym, and he was like, a lot of people, like, when you were 6 years old, you had no fears. Like, you would just go in front of your family and just, like, dance, like, whatever, like, look at me. Now people today, like, for whatever reason, they paint over, like, they're like, oh, I don't like this side of me. So they paint it over. And then each time you paint it, you stray away more and more from who you really are.
Yeah, and I feel like that takes away from your happiness, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, immediately right when you say that, it makes me think about, like, back to when we were in, like, middle school and, like, freshman year of high school, when we would go to the park and we would literally just be the dumbest, most immature human beings ever.
Not one fear.
Not one fear of anything that we were saying or doing or how we looked or if we looked stupid.
We wanted to look stupid.
We literally made it our mission. And then we would like say stupid stuff to like the high schoolers coming and playing basketball. They'd be like, who the fuck are these little idiots? And we're just like, yeah, like, like it's just hilarious.
Well, one thing, like fear is one thing that makes you like paint over the things. And it's like fear is very paralyzing. That's one thing I've been learning. Like it's just like, you stop being who you really are. Yeah. You start pretending you're somebody else when you have that fear. You're a lesser version of yourself, I would say. Yeah. I was driving earlier today. It was a beautiful day. It was sunny. And then I'm like 10 minutes into driving. I can't remember one thing that happened while driving. I was just so happy in my thoughts. It was just calm. Calm. Very calm. And then not too later, like the song that it said like fear is paralyzing, and I heard it and I caught it, and I realized like I don't feel paralyzed. I don't feel stuck in this position, because when I feel sad and upset, I feel like I'm stuck where I am and I'm not making any progress. Life is just, it feels like there's no purpose in that moment.
Right.
It just feels like when that fear pops up, it just feels like that's my life. Yeah. That's who I like. I don't know. Well, what's your thoughts on it?
I don't know. For me, whenever I think about fear, I think this is just what I've conditioned myself to think about, because I've been doing a lot of things that maybe not on the surface seem scary, but like perfect example, starting my TikTok page, very scary. Like whether it looks like it or not, like getting over the fear of judgment from friends, from family. It's funny. Like the literally when I went to go start my TikTok page, I knew the reason why was not only just to start my brand, building my brand in a business, but to put out content out there that's going to change people's lives. And the thing that was running through my head were random kids from our high school looking at my TikTok and making fun of me. That was the number one thing. And there was just like a handful of kids. Kids I didn't even talk to. Kids I don't give a fuck about. Yeah. And those were the people that were running through my head over and over and over again on repeat.
Because how I see it, those are the people you were painting yourself over to look.
Exactly. Those are the kids I wanted to put on a mask the most towards. And eventually I got to a point where I realized, and this is what I was getting to, is the fear is there, right? And therefore, taking that step forward is going to make it a shitty path, right? It is. Even when I started doing the TikToks, I was still running through my head. I was like, they're definitely sending these around and laughing about me, saying, what the fuck is he doing? Like, nobody's even commenting or looking at his stuff anyways. Like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Like, oh my gosh, you would not believe I was so insecure. But then eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, but what's the alternative? How am I going to feel looking back when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old, or even a year from now, 2 years from now, or a month from now, looking back saying, oh, I bitched out. I bitched out, right? Imagining potential people's lives that could have been totally turned around, right? And which are being turned around. I get DMs every single day. I'm not even that big yet, but I get DMs every single day from people saying, dude, you have absolutely no idea how much of a difference you've made in my life, right? Just listening to your podcast, looking at your clips, your TikTok, the things that you're saying and the things that you're preaching are like absolutely changing my relationships, changing my life in this way. I'm turning my life around. Like those things, like even right now I have the goosebumps just thinking about it. Like it's ridiculous. And to think that I would have allowed somebody from high school who I don't even give a shit about to dictate what I was going to do, and to not be able to touch those people and to the people I'm going to continue to touch is insane. But I have to make sure it's clear to you and to everybody is that those fears are still there. And I know that people are making fun of me. Some people make fun of me to my face. Some people make fun of me behind my back and I find out about it. And I'm assuming most of the time I don't find out about it. But guess what? That pain exists, but it's not nearly as bad as the pain of the potential regret and of the pain that other people would be going through if they weren't consuming my content or getting any of the gifts that I'm spreading around, right? And so that's an example of my overarching idea about fear, is that fear just exposes one of the painful paths. That's all it does. It's like, but you have to dispense with the idea of a zero pain path, right? Because a lot of people subconsciously or consciously think that when they're deciding to not do something, right? Whether it's to start a TikTok page on self-improvement, or to start a new relationship with somebody, or to go for it, or to just whatever it is that you're afraid of doing, that if they don't do that, that inaction equals zero. But that's a complete misconception. And you're not fully thinking it through, because what you're assuming is zero is not. There's a negative to it. Just like there's a negative to doing the thing that you're fearful towards, right? Whatever it may be. Maybe you're getting judged from other people. Maybe you're going to go through some emotional pain. Maybe it's going to be uncomfortable, yada, 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 right? There's the pain there, right? But there's no pain-free path. Don't assume the zero, right? And a lot of people are unconscious of that. And so I think I know I went on a rant there, but that's my overarching idea behind fear, is that like you have to remember that there's no shit-free path. Both either way, or any of the 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 unlimited ways, whether there's fear or not fear, whether it's a comfortable path or the uncomfortable path, there's bullshit in all the paths. You just have to choose which one you know you're not going to regret the most. I think that's, for me,
I got you.
Number one.
A few things popped up into my head, but the number one thing was, the thing that got me started doing this podcast was I was driving with my brother, and it was like super early in the morning, going to the airport. And the thought hit my head, what if I die in a year? Yeah. Change my life. Like just 1 year. And I was like,
exactly what runs through my head.
Let's say like 2 months from now, 2 months ago, it was probably like 2 months ago. Let's say I just didn't start this. Yeah. And then I had like 10 months left in my life. And then I didn't start the podcast, like just didn't want to help other people. How would I feel on that deathbed? How would I feel knowing I could have helped people? Even if it was to a small extent, big extent, like it doesn't matter. Like what if I helped one person out and I didn't do it because I was trying to hide myself? I was trying to... The parts of me that I painted over, I wasn't willing to take them off. I wasn't willing to go through the bad. Not even... I don't know. You keep going.
I know for me, immediately what I think about is like, especially for people who are givers, people who want to contribute like a lot, you have to think about how selfish you're being by allowing your fear to stop you from doing things that you know are going to change other people's lives.
I love that.
Because maybe at that point, that's what will push you over the edge.
And it did for me.
Right.
I realized how selfish I was being, and then that just did it for me. I couldn't say in my head like if I don't like. In my head, I just think I could help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then just knowing I could do that, and then not putting in the work to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the number one thing I want to do in my life. So I'm basically not doing my purpose.
Yeah.
All because whatever that fear is.
Yeah.
I'm paralyzed by that fear. There's no movement because I'm paralyzed. And that paralyzed. And the only thing that got me through it is knowing that I would be selfish and not doing my purpose.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, now that we're talking about it, it makes me think about like how many people have died, or how many people are walking around us today that you pass on the street that are allowing that fear to block them from becoming people like Gandhi, people like Martin Luther King, right? Like people who have completely changed the world, but their fear of judgment or their fear of whatever held them back from spreading their gift and making the world a better place because of whatever they were afraid of. Like it doesn't feel like it in the moment, but that's probably the most selfish thing that you can do, is to not fully actualize your potential.
Not give the world what you were given at birth.
Especially when you know that you're gifted at something.
The hard part with a lot of people, and for me, it was, I just didn't think I was great at anything. Now I do.
Yeah.
I think I'm like insane at what's going to happen.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't, I had to tell myself. There wasn't like somebody who told me, hey, you're really good at this, go do it.
Do you think, have you noticed, because like, so I'm at that point as well, and it feels egotistical, and it a little bit is, and I could feel my ego really attaching to this feeling of significance even before saying it. Like I feel myself feeling that. So it might come through when I'm saying it, but the essence of it is not ego. But my question for you is once you started realizing it, have you started like really separating yourself from people who aren't in a similar mindset, whether or not they have the same gift or different gifts?
I think what's been happening is, I mean, I think I'll use God, but I think God has taken me away from them. Because I have this job now and I have less time to talk to those people. And the people that I talk to in the gym are people that are giving me knowledge. It's people that's been through struggles, and I'm learning about those struggles without even going through them. Right. So it wasn't my own power that took me away from those relationships. I think it was just God, the universe, whatever you want to say. I made it clear to myself that I was great, and God said I need to be surrounded by different people, and he did it because I couldn't do it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, because for me, because this just happened a couple months ago, because I don't know, I always had little hints that I had a gift for understanding human behavior and for communicating. I think and those combined is why I believe I'm so good at what I'm doing. But once I started, I guess maybe it wasn't even the realization of it. I think it was more so the fact that I'm working to develop myself in these areas, whether it's through content creation, something like we're doing right now, through a podcast, through actually coaching individuals or whatever it may be. I think that has really separated me from a lot of people, right? And so like a perfect example of this is I want to make sure I'm not...
just talk your mind, man.
No. I know. But it's a specific situation, and I don't want the person to know, and I don't want other people to know about the situation, because if I say anything, they'll definitely know. I was in a situation. Excuse me. I was in a situation with somebody, and they were talking to me about my future and about my future plans, about my future career path, X, Y, and Z. The whole 9 yards. And I was like, I'm gonna do coaching after school. After I graduate from college, I'm going to work on building my business and building my brand and just take it from there. And that's what I'm going to do. And they're like, They're like, that's awesome, but like, what's your plan B? And I was like, huh.
Nothing.
Well, that was my first instinct. My
Mhm.
first instinct was, fuck a plan B.
That's mine.
And that's and that's what I felt. Right? I was
Okay.
like, why the fuck would I have a plan B? I'm like, plan B is where people go when they're afraid of plan A, and when shit gets hard, not impossible, but hard. And so, I was like, oh well, I'll do clinical therapy. And that's what I said. And then right after the meeting, I was like, I didn't mean that shit. I'm never gonna do
You're
clinical
painting
therapy.
over yourself.
Right. Exactly. But I was thinking about that conversation, and I'm like, wow, people really don't actualize their own gifts. Because if he felt the same way about himself and whatever he's good at as I do about me, he wouldn't have even asked that question.
It wouldn't have popped up in his brain.
It would never have popped in his
I've
brain.
never thought about that to somebody.
I was because that's what I'm saying is like, literally getting the chills because when I talk to people about like what they're doing, what their major is, what their career path is, and they tell me, "Oh, I'm doing accounting," right? And I'm like, "Oh, okay," you know. And then I'll keep talking to them like, "Oh, but like, what do you like to do? Like, what's your hobbies?" Because I know when they say accounting, they're like, "Oh, you know, I'm doing accounting," you know, like
I'm good with numbers.
yeah, I like math. I was good
Yeah.
at math in high school. And I'm like, so I'm not going to say it overtly, at least not in that moment, that I know you don't give a fuck about accounting,
Mhm.
but they'll keep talking. And then I figure out they really like sports and they really want to be a sports broadcaster. They love it. And they start talking about it and they can do like, and they're like, I love this guy when he talks about basketball.
The chest puffs out.
Yeah.
Everything.
Their eyes open up. They have all this energy within them. I'm like, that right there, that's what you should be doing. Right. And to think that somebody would ever even say, well, keep accounting in your back pocket is fucking ludicrous.
Why?
Because
Why? No. I understand. Like,
Yeah.
why would you say that?
Yeah, because you haven't actualized your own gift. The only people that are giving advice about plan Bs are people who are living out plan Bs.
I love that.
That's for real though.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. In that moment, I should have had the courage to say,
You'll get better at it.
I will, but
You will.
I think it was like very like a heat of the moment. And like I needed to learn that lesson as well. But it was just like when he asked me that, and I'm just like, I really thought about it a lot, and I'm like, I'm never, ever. That's a promise I made. It's a promise I'm making to myself right now. But I am never gonna go for a plan B, and I will never ever recommend anybody to ever have a plan B. Fuck a plan B, dude.
Fuck it.
Fuck a plan B. Why are you gonna create a second path as a safety net for plan A when you live this many times? You live this many times.
My brain can't comprehend how you have one life and you know you're good at some stuff. You're good at something.
It literally gives me the chills.
I love
dude.
that. No, you know you're good at something, but you don't think you could do it. Why?
Dude, well, even
Drink that water.
dude, it makes absolutely no sense to me, right? Because I'm literally have the chills on my arms. It makes muchas gracias. Sorry. It makes absolutely no sense to me because I don't know if it's genetics, God, the universe. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's God. But
I love it.
whatever you believe in, right?
Tuesday. I'm sorry, keep going.
Nobody understands what we're talking about right now, but it's fine. Whatever you believe in doesn't matter. I don't understand how you could know that there's something you want to pursue and not pursue it. You understand you will die and you understand how regret works. Yet that's it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like seriously. How, like, it baffles my mind to think that because like I went to school to become a dental hygienist my freshman year of college, right? Immediately I was like,
Nah.
well, that's what I said, but I had enough time where all I was doing was taking gen eds and literally like my first semester, I wasn't even taking a single dental hygiene class.
Mm-hmm.
After that first semester, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm too afraid because the thought that kept running through my head was, I'm going to hate it. 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 I'm going to die with regrets every single day, 365, 24/7.
Did it go away at all?
The only time it went away was when I said, I want to be a physical therapist, because that's what I actually at the time thought I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As things developed, I realized that's not what I wanted to do, but there was never a plan B after dental hygiene. There was never a plan B. But the only reason, so now that I'm thinking about it, I guess it came up, I guess the courage comes up when you start working on yourself. When you have the,
What really came into my head is when you start working on yourself, you start getting this confidence, and with that confidence, you start telling yourself, "I'm great."
I was literally just about to say that.
And what happens for me is the thing that really got me is God created you,
Yeah.
and you don't think you're great. You don't think you're a mate. Like
You're alive.
like go out, go on a hike, go on like top of a mountain, look at like everything. Know that the same God that created you, but you're going to be an accountant your whole life and hate your life. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Damn.
You like right now I'm having a great ass time. Like this is amazing. Like I'm having like so much fun, more fun than I've had in like I can't remember. Like this is great and I want to pursue this. I know I do.
Yeah.
Why would I do anything else?
Why the fuck would you have a plan B?
Let's say 2 years from now, nothing, like zero views, nothing, like this, just nothing happens. I tried, I learned from it. Maybe something else comes into my head those 2 years that I love even more than this, but let it hit you.
Right.
Don't be like.
But here's the thing. Here's my question for you is, what's keeping you? So let's say hypothetically you go down the path, the market decides and people decide this is just not what you're good at, which might happen, right? And if that does happen, what's keeping you from forcing yourself into a plan B because you know that you're going to catch judgment from your family, catch judgment from your friends, catch judgment from other people that like you're not making any money, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not like pursuing a.
How do you not fall into that plan B you're saying?
Yeah.
Faith. That's all I could say. Have faith that it's going to work out in the end. Yeah. Just think about everything you've gone through and how you've gone through it.
Yeah.
Like you've lived the other side of it. I don't think don't let that fear, because that's fear right there. Let that fear paralyze you and stop you from doing what you truly want to do.
Right.
Like in my head, the scariest thing ever is being like 40, working like
dude, that
just working like the job that I hate, or even like, I don't want to work. I don't want to wake up every day and be like, I like what I'm doing. No, I want to love what I'm doing.
I literally.
Like I want every day to like, yes, life changes. If I'm 20 right now and I'm enjoying almost like every second of every day, and I'm learning more and more and more how to be happier, how to like spread more love, and I am spreading more love. When I'm 30, why should I feel worse than I feel right now?
It's once I started working on myself, which is weird because I've never had a lot of money, you know, I mean, 21, you know, but once I started working on myself, the thought never even came into my mind of having a lot of money matters, right? It's like, are you, like, as corny as it sounds, are you happy? No, but I want to provide for my family. Okay, get happy first, then make a family and have a happy family.
That's the tough part. People make families, they're not even happy.
And then your families are unhappy. And the kids you raised are raised in an unhappy household. And then now it's up to them whether or not they're going to live a happy life because they weren't taught that.
They got parents that aren't happy, and that's their norm. Like that's their habit of like just not being happy, and then they're not taught how to be happy. So they either got to teach themselves or they're fucked.
That's why I want to change the education system.
And you will.
100%.
You will. Just people aren't taught this. Yeah. That's what I really. You told me, I don't know if you mind that one time in the golf course where you just felt super happy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly how you felt. I was
literally crying with joy.
There's no thoughts in your head, just complete bliss. I meditated. It was when I first started meditating. I meditated and just felt like zero thoughts in my head. I was super calm, just happy that I could really use the word I'm happy. And I was like 18, 19. And I was like, why has it took me 18 years to feel this way? Yeah. Why has nobody ever told me this? Why didn't somebody tell me, hey man, I know there's a phone, there's like a PlayStation, there's all this to like make your mind like stimulated with something.
Yeah.
But if you sit there for 10 minutes and think about everything that's happened to you and how you're fine.
Yeah. What blows my mind is to know that we have phones. We've had YouTube and podcasts and things like seminars and books. We've had all these things for especially our generation since we were like conscious. Mm-hmm. And nobody, I mean nobody, not a parent, not a teacher, not a friend, not a friend's parent, nobody has told me even one time, hey, how often are you consuming positive content that's making your mindset better? As corny as that sounds, why has nobody ever said that?
Anything remote. Why am I hearing what's your plan B? Why is that the question?
Right. But why, if somebody had asked me that when I was in 6th grade, would I have thought, I should have a plan B? That's a good point, Mr. Boothroyd. I should have a plan B. Thank you. I'll have accounting, and then if not, I'll be at the front desk. We got it.
I'm gonna lose it. What a great time.
Yeah.
No.
That's why I want to change the education system, because very rough, like on my knowledge on this, I don't know enough about this to even make this as a true claim. But from what I know, especially from the preaching of Jordan Peterson, is that your parents or your guardians are the people that are the number one influences on your mindset and the way you think from ages 0 to like 3 or 4. And after 3 or 4, it's almost none of the parents. It's pretty much, it's like over 90% your friends and your peers and the people you spend time with at school and whatnot that are influencing your mind. But the people you're going to choose to hang out with are going to be based on how you were parented. And that's what Jordan Peterson talks a lot about. He says, if you don't raise your kids to be good sports at recess, to be kind, to share, to learn these basic things, if they're little shits running around and constantly get rejected from their peers, at 3 to 4 years old, they're not going to make those connections with friends. And from 3 to 4 years old up until eternity, until they take it into their own hands to do things like you and I are doing, that's going to be their life. And that's where you get the annoying loner who hangs out with nobody because they were poorly socialized. That's that 0 to 3, which then turns into 3 to 4 to high school and college, right? And that's how that works. And to me, that's why I want to change the education system. Because if I can get teachers in there, right, educating the kids on things that fucking matter. I think it's very important to have basic knowledge on all these subjects, especially with reading and writing and learning how to properly speak. But math and history, basic stuff like that, I agree with to a very, very basic extent. But then after, but why is that coming over learning how to understand and manage your emotions? Right? Like, why is that not taught?
I was just gonna say that's hard to teach a 2-year-old, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And I think to a certain extent, it's very reliant on the teachers, and they do this in things like preschool and whatnot. Like, it's not directly taught, like, take notes on this. Like, that's not what I mean. But like, especially like you're supposed to share, be kind, but like, it has to be changed. It has to be changed.
One thing, a way I can connect this is we're talking a lot about that plan B.
Yeah.
Think about how many teachers their plan B was to be a teacher. What is
you can see it. You can see it when you talk to them.
There's teachers that hate kids, but they're an elementary school teacher.
Literally.
Like, and then like, if I was a parent and I heard that, I would, I don't know I'd be more pissed than like almost anything.
Yeah.
Like, you're teaching my kid to be a lesser of a person. Yep. Like, I can't think of a worse thing you could do to me.
Yeah.
No, it's...
But it's sad because it's the blind leading the blind, right? Because the parents don't know because they're an accountant. Like, why the fuck are they gonna even be like, oh no, but it's good though. Like you see your plan B worked out. Like that's what they would say. It's like, oh no, but it worked out. Like you have a job, right?
You're gonna make me cry laughing.
It's like, you know,
You're
like,
good. You're good. You're good.
No, that makes sense. It's like, no, because you're both blind.
Don't worry, Ken.
Oh my god.
What a great day. No, yeah, but it's just crazy. You said the blind leads the blind, but it's just all that circle that needs to be broken by someone, something, like just
Us.
For sure. I think we are a big part of it. If not the part of it, I think we're a big part, but it's just reaching to enough people to understand this to where this becomes the norm.
Yeah, and I think that people really need to, because when people think about that, they're like, well, 99, they'll see crazy stats, like things like, I hear like, well, 90 plus people are, you know, upset and like are anxious and like, and aren't living a life that they'd want to trade with, and like, and all these people are pessimistic about the future. So what the hell am I going to do about it? And I always bring up this stat that I heard, which is that in your lifetime, right, you're going to know about 1,000 people, right? And those 1,000 people are going to know about 1,000 people, give or take, right? Intimately enough to have an impact and an influence on their behaviors and how they decide to live their lives. But that means that you're one person away from influencing 1 million people, and you're 2 people away from influencing 1 billion people.
It's crazy.
So what you say and what you do matters a lot more than you think. A lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to start acting that way and living that way and not letting fear dictate what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and holding you back from spreading your gift because you're afraid of judgment or whatever you're afraid of. Because if there's millions and billions of people that you can be affecting but you're not affecting, that's selfish.
For sure. Just what I would do in my head is think about how good you would feel. Not even how good the world would be if you impacted 1 billion people positively. And then think about not doing it.
Yeah. It's even as simple as just like, even if maybe shit's going wrong, you know, and your mom said some fucked up thing to you yesterday and you failed an exam or whatever's going on, if you can smile at the person that walks in the door or give somebody a compliment or be there for somebody even though you wish somebody was there for you or whatever, how that can change their day and how their day can change other people's days, right? How much that can impact everything in ways you have no idea.
The thing that came into my head is my favorite. Let's say I'm talking to somebody about my struggles, right? And they tell me their struggle, and in my head, like they've been through worse, right? Let's just say, I don't know, I've been feeling down for a day or two, but they're like, oh, I used to be a crackhead for 10 years, and I hear that, and he goes, but I'm alive right now, and I feel happy. Like today's a great day. That for me is like. That's just so much power in that, and I just feel so good because it's like even though you went through that, you're happy, and I'm going through this little thing.
It's perspective, man.
And it's those people that go through that tough time give you such good perspective because you don't have to go through it, but you understand what
you can learn what they needed to learn. Can you check on that for a real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Is it still rolling?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. I know that's still rolling.
Not What were you gonna say?
Yeah, it's all perspective. That's all it ever is, right? If you can rank, right, from person 1 to 8 billion, right, who's in the worst spot ever. Maybe they're in a cage being like starved to death, right? That in some third world country or whatever.
Praying for them, but keep going.
But like, if they're 8 billion, if they're the worst of the worst that life can get. And you live in America?
You can't even comprehend how.
Listen, I'm a big culprit to it too, right? Shit happens, someone turns in something late, TikTok crashes, and I'm pissed. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, my life sucks.
That first emotion is.
I'm like, this is the worst. And then you're like, yeah, but what about that dude in the cage? But it's like, Why isn't that like if you can if you can train yourself to
I'm drinking water. You can't do that to me.
But for real, if you can get to a point where you wire your brain to be truly grateful, as corny as that sounds, because you're alive and you live in a free country.
And you could do anything.
I get it. I'm a white dude in America saying that. I get it. I get it.
We've been very privileged, for sure.
I completely understand and acknowledge it. But here's my thing. If somebody with your story, a person with a similar circumstance or a worse circumstance, is happy and is fulfilled and is successful, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying we shouldn't make progress to make a more equal society, to make a better world, a more peaceful world where people aren't racist and mean and rude. Like I'm with that. I get it. I agree. But don't complain. Don't complain. If you're not number 8 billion, I don't want to hear you complaining.
I love that. Somebody got it worse than you.
Always.
And it's about taking that perspective,
Always.
thinking about it like that. It's that when something happens, it's that first thought that you have, or like switching whatever that first thought is.
Yeah.
Because think about how many thoughts you could think right now. Yeah. How many different thoughts you get to pick.
That's the thing that's so wild to me, is that you could
pick right now that you're on a beach chilling and close your eyes for 10 minutes and you'll feel so happy right after that.
I get it. Some people have some shit going on, right? Like you got depression and anxiety and like fucked up shit going on, and it's hard. It's not as simple as to close your eyes and beach, right? I get that, and I get we're oversimplifying it, but what's not oversimplified is the fact that you can spend 2 years consistently consuming information and content and whatever that's going to make your life better, and you'd be way happier. And you're not doing that. And you're gonna die. But you're not doing that. But you're complaining?
You're not taking any steps to be better. And you're complaining about where you are. Because people don't realize where you are, that's the blessing. I know we got blessed. We got good upbringings compared to most people.
Absolutely.
But like, I know we talked about this before. We wish we were in worse positions to start off with.
Yeah. Because
it's like that training that you got and like just going through it built you to the person you are.
Yeah. Life handed you the perfect training ground to bounce back and be because like you look at people who are uber successful and uber happy and fulfilled. A lot of those people had fucked up upbringings. A lot of them. And they learned how. I think it's very powerful that they learned either having like a parental figure or learning by themselves the importance of growing. So when they got up to there, they were comfortable with it. Yeah.
Because there's like people that win the lottery, like they're not comfortable with it. So think about like all the struggle you went through, and like you just make yourself better and better and better. How good you would feel at the top. Like you would be, you're comfortable at the bottom wherever you are right now. You're comfortable, but you got to learn to be comfortable in a different position. Yeah, and that's where being uncomfortable is.
That's why I think comfort is the biggest enemy that doesn't last very long once you start making a change. Because like a good example is like going to the gym. It's so uncomfortable in so many ways, not just physically, like working out and looking like an idiot in front of people, thinking about the judgment, having to drive to the gym, like having to get yourself going, having to wake up earlier, like all these reasons why it's uncomfortable. It's like, but once you start going for a few months, what's uncomfortable is not going. That's the truth, but that's the truth of every habit.
And no one's taught that. Nobody told me when I was younger. Because there's not many people that go through that struggle and like they get to the point where they're comfortable in a position that they were uncomfortable. There's not that many people that do it, and then there's even less people that understand it and could teach it to somebody else.
Right. There's also not a lot of people that understand that you can become comfortable being uncomfortable, which I think is one of the number one skills you can learn how to develop. Because once you do that, judgment, failure, all this bullshit that comes along with trying out new things that are going to be better for your life are so easy to overcome.
Well, for like the first thing that I said was like be yourself. When you become comfortable being uncomfortable, you learn to be yourself more. Because all those things that you painted over, the only way to get rid of them is to be uncomfortable. And if you're comfortable being uncomfortable, bless you. You're gonna be able to be yourself.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to. Yeah, it sucks to like. I don't know what to say. Let's just say. Let me think of an example. What's on your head? Where you?
Well, I was thinking that they feed into each other, right? Because the more you learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, the more you're going to feel okay with who you are. Because you're experiencing new things and you're developing confidence because you're doing things that are good for you, right? And that's where confidence comes from, right? The same way where you'd be confident in another person or think of somebody else very highly, right? Those are the type of people that give to society, that take care of themselves and take care of the people around them and master the areas of life that matter, right? But then simultaneously, once you're doing that, then you're more inclined to be more of who you are and not paint a picture or put a mask on who you are. And as you do that, you're more comfortable doing things because you're not afraid to fail because you're concrete in who you are. There's no desire to want to change that or try and fit a mold. So failure doesn't break anything because it can't be broken. But when you have a mask on and you're a painted picture of something that you want society or your parents or your friends or whoever to see, then you can be broken. But once you get to a place where you can't be broken because your identity is raw and real, then you're not afraid to fail. You're not afraid to look stupid.
I love that so much.
You're not afraid of rejection or judgment of anything like that because you are who you are. Take it or leave it.
And you accepted it.
But until you get to that point, there's no wonder why you're so afraid. There's no wonder why you're in such shitty relationships.
How I'm seeing it in my head is no wonder you're failing so much because you're trying to be something you're not.
Which is a failure in and of itself.
Let me say it again. I like that.
Which is a failure in and of itself.
Explain.
When you try to be something that you're not, you're failing your life, you're failing people, you're failing society, you're failing the world. Because when you're not yourself, you can't open up and give your gifts. You can't make other people as happy as they could be. You won't be as happy as you could be. The 1,000 people rule. You can't impact millions and billions of people if you're not being real and authentic. Keep putting a mask on. Keep painting a picture for society because you're insecure. You're leaving a lot on the table.
What I was getting at is like when you do that, you paint that picture, you're going to fail. And the only reason you're failing is because you're not being yourself.
Right.
It's just teaching you, hey, this isn't you.
Yeah.
And people, they fail and they're like, all right, I suck. Let's go to plan B. Instead of going, hey, that's not what I was supposed to do. Let's try something else out.
Yeah.
Not the plan B. I just mean try something else out. That's great.
Yeah.
That you love doing.
Yeah.
That is going to give you fulfillment.
And again, it's implied in what you're saying right now is that it's not going to be comfortable and fun. It's not. Just because you're being who you are doesn't mean that you're not going to be afraid of the judgment or afraid of the failure or afraid of whatever. It just means you'll do it anyways. That's all that means.
I think it's one of the hardest things to start, in my head at least.
Yeah.
Because you spent so much time in your head.
Conditioning.
You spent so much time in your head just, this is me, this is me, this is me, when it hasn't been. Like there's people, like 30 years straight of just like, this is me. And then when they figure out it's not, how hard is it to change that?
Dude, I mean, that's one of the number one problems I run into with people when I'm telling them about like personal development is they think that when they start to work on themselves, that's them being fake. I'm like, that's not you being fake. That's you letting the shitty version of yourself die off. And you should let that version of you die off. I'm like, look at a first grader. Do you want that first grader to stay 4'6" and read at a first grade reading level for the rest of his life? No. Well, that's fake. that's how I feel when you say that.
Yeah.
It's like the example that I'm thinking of that happens all the time is people like, well, you know, like the example I'm thinking about is like people will always tell me that they'll try and justify why they go off on somebody. Well, I would be being fake, keeping it into myself. I'm like, no, you're just being a fucking dick. I'm like, that's all you're doing. Like, you're being an asshole. No, I'm just telling them how it is. I don't want to be fake and hold it in. I'm like, first of all, you can get your message across without saying it like that. Second of all, it doesn't mean you're being fake by not criticizing somebody that didn't ask for your criticism or being an asshole to someone just because they weren't exactly nice to you. Like, that's not what that means. That doesn't mean you're being fake. That just means that means there's a lot of you that you need to work on. And by working on that and by learning how to suck that in and no longer be that asshole of a person and cast your judgment wherever you think is fit is not being fake.
Because
it's called growth.
a lot of thing that with argument, I'll just start it off with argument. With argument, what I've been noticing is when I'm disagreeing with somebody, I'm trying to win the conversation instead of learning from it. So when you feel the urge to like yell and scream and just go off on somebody, maybe you're wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to yell so much because they're right in the picture you painted over yourself doesn't fit.
Doesn't
whatever they said was your true self.
Yeah.
And the thing that you painted for yourself doesn't fit that because that's not you. And you feel so angry because imagine how much you're just fighting yourself.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you're going to be mad. Yeah, you're going to just want to scream at somebody.
Right.
And it's because
it's no wonder.
They're probably right.
It's no wonder. A big thing for me, because, I mean, as you know, this is something within the past year that I've made a lot of progress in, is the tendency to argue with anybody and everybody about everything. I'm just thinking of worth it. Is God.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah. But the thing that has helped me a lot with learning about, because you know I have the tendency to argue, but the thing that has helped me the most with that is realizing that no matter what I'm arguing about, who I'm arguing with, what the topic is, it does not matter. When it becomes me versus you and not you and I versus the problem, you have to drop it. You have to drop it. And so what happens to me is I'll get sucked in, right? I'll become unconscious, and then I'll be arguing and bickering and doing whatever, feeling shitty. My ego's just talking. And then I'll realize, okay, this is me versus you, not you and I versus the problem. Immediately my communication changes. It
has to.
It's empathic. It's compassionate. It's let me actually try and listen rather than think about what I'm going to say next. All those things come into play, right? And then one of two things happens. Either one, they pick up on it too, right? They start communicating in a way where it's us versus the problem, and then we get to a situation where it doesn't mean we necessarily agree, but the problem is resolved.
You understand each other.
We understand each other, and we can either agree to disagree or have a new perspective. Or two, I get to a point where I say, listen, I understand what you're trying to say. I get where you're coming from. But until we can decide to have a conversation, I'm not going to have this conversation.
And people hate that.
People hate that, especially when you're somebody like I used to be.
When you know you can get an argument from somebody and they're not giving it to you, people hate that.
Because there's so much dopamine release, dude. It's actually ridiculous.
That's a part where I don't understand because I'm more agreeable.
Yeah.
And like...
that makes you feel uncomfortable.
If anything, I used to be you know this, very big instigator.
I'm well aware.
That's where I got my dopamine rush.
Yes.
Because I love two people arguing, but I didn't love arguing with somebody.
You just like watching the mayhem go down.
But I'm working on that.
Yeah.
That's my part. That's where I could teach somebody.
Yeah, I was in it.
It was mostly you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've grown.
It was always me, bro.
Happened for a reason.
It did happen for a reason.
That's
There's no way I'd be able to have this conversation if I wasn't there. You know?
That's one thing that's really been on my head. Everything just perfectly. If you think everything perfectly lines up together, everything perfect. Yeah. Like in my head, for sure, everything lines up perfectly. But until you like think about it in that way, you could just have so much peace and like just love for, even if something bad happens to you. Like I dropped some protein powder today and I was like, maybe these few seconds are stopping me, and like just 2 hours from now, something good's going to happen to me because I dropped this protein.
Yeah.
But that perspective versus, let me scream at the protein powder for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's just a different perspective, different view on life.
Yeah. Everything happens for you, not to you. And I think that just comes from experience, from optimistic experience.
Did you want to go? I had some.
All I was gonna finish was saying, once you go through enough things that are painful and realize how good you come out on the other end because you use it instead of letting it use you, you learn that everything happens for you, not to you.
I think the hardest thing ever is catching that, understanding that you have to catch it. Yeah. One thing that you taught me, and I wouldn't have understood it until you told me, is when you would catch yourself having those bad thoughts in a conversation, and you said you would only do like once a week.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Am I going through the right ballpark?
Yeah.
You would catch that, but you had to start catching it. Yeah. And
it takes a while to start catching it more.
And that's where you really taught me is what I was talking to somebody. The thing you were really good at is, and you are good at, you understand how somebody makes you feel and you catch it right away. Whenever we hang out with people, you're like, hey, I felt bad. I felt good.
The best way to describe it is like, imagine there's a never-ending table, right? And you have a bouncy ball in your hand.
You said table?
Table,
okay.
Yep. You have a bouncy ball in your hand, and you throw it as far as you can. Maybe you throw it 100 feet, right? And it bounces. And that bounces at 100 feet, right? And then it bounces again. Maybe it bounces 75 feet after that, right? Because it loses momentum, etc. And then maybe after that, it bounces 50, right? Eventually, it's going to keep bouncing and bouncing and bouncing to a point where it's like, blah, 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 right? And then it's just rolling. That's how it works with catching your thoughts. You'll catch it 1 month. And then maybe you'll catch it 3 weeks later. Maybe you'll catch that thought like 2 weeks later.
What an
and then
analogy.
a week later. And then eventually you're catching every day. And then eventually you're catching every minute. And eventually it's rolling to where maybe the thoughts aren't even coming up. But if they do, you got it.
That's who you are now. You changed who you are as a person.
That's the power of monitoring.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
And nobody's taught this. Nobody. The analogy you just gave right now, if I heard that, that's another tough part. Hearing that as like a 5-year-old in this society, I would say you're like...
Agreed. But I also don't know. With the education system, I'm thinking more towards like middle school and high school. But I get what you're saying.
Even that, like, you've heard like... How many people I've heard do something you love and they understand it, they don't understand it.
Yeah, that's the thing I was thinking about too when you were talking about the concept of everything happens for you, not to you, and how it's a choice in that perspective, is that's so fucking corny. It's so corny. But if there's one thing that I've learned about things that are corny, is that so many of them, I would say probably 75, 80% of the things that I hear that are cliche terms overused are so unbelievably true. Like the truest of the truisms. And that's because we're human beings. People have lived cumulatively millions of years.
And those are the sayings that people have. No wonder they're going to have so much power in it. Just think about all the millions of days people have lived
exactly
to create 4 words,
right,
or whatever, like
treat
a
others how you want to be treated, right? Whether you think you're right or you're wrong, you're right. It's corny. Optimism or pessimism, glass half full, glass half empty. So corny, yes, but why is it corny? Why is it cliche? Why is it overused? Think about it.
Why do some people literally live their lives in that way?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's corny. We're not disagreeing. It's corny.
Yeah.
But it could change your life.
100%.
You could start monitoring it.
You gotta dispense with the wall that you put in front of yourself when you hear something corny. You gotta dispense with that wall.
That's the first thing that comes in your head.
Yeah.
Is, all right, all right, dude,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play Fortnite.
There's no thoughts that go past, that's corny. Fuck. That's it. You hear, treat others the way you want to be treated? Nope. Nothing. Nothing past that wall.
You hear it and it goes out the ear.
Because you've heard it so many times.
And then people don't, everybody needs to know why they're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
At least a lot of people.
Yeah. Huh.
You gotta, people don't take the time to be like, hey, this is why you should treat people.
Right.
It's
so important.
Words can do a lot, but the meaning behind the words. Because
why is always so
like
important.
Like what I like to, I told you, like the deserve.
Yeah.
You could think of that in whatever perspective. Like just like if I'm like, what do you deserve? Almost everybody's gonna have a different answer. That's how powerful one word is. I said, what do you deserve? 4 words. And billions of people think different thoughts.
Exactly.
It's just all about how you see think about how you want to see the world and then just go for it. If you want to think that you're great at something, think it. What are you gaining from I'm a loser, I'm not going anywhere? What do you I don't know.
Perspective's a choice, man.
It's not taught.
Right.
That's the key thing I think we're getting up right now.
Yeah.
It's just
I just think that, I don't know, because people, you're going to go through life, shit's going to hit the fan. People are going to die. You're going to die. There's going to be tragedy. Everybody gets sick and everybody dies. Yes. Life is suffering. Yes. Everyone knows it. Right? We don't have a choice about that. We don't. But you can choose what those things are going to mean. And you can choose what you're going to do about it. How you're going to handle yourself. What habits you're going to build. How you're going to spend your time. Who you're going to spend your time with. Those are the things you choose.
And that's a gift. That's a gift that you got to choose all that.
Exactly. You're not somebody's puppet. You're
that's
not
free will.
Yeah.
Another thing that's been really on my mind is what you reap is what you sow. I felt amazing today.
Yeah.
The thing during the day, I was like, why do I feel great right now? But when I go down that spiral while I feel great, I kind of lose I feel great. Like that calm goes away. So maybe tonight or tomorrow, I'll just think, why did I feel great? I started thinking a little bit. Yesterday, I did things to put myself in a position to feel great. Like, some days you just wake up and you feel amazing.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? It didn't just happen like you felt great.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny is I always realize it, like when I stay up on FaceTime or I stay up doing stupid shit on like TikTok or whatever till like 1 in the morning, or even if I go to bed at a reasonable time and I wake up in the morning, it's nothing compared to if it's a podcast and reading a book and going to bed and like feeling like.
But you reap, you sow.
Exactly.
I mean, I do this. I'm human too. I went to bed at like 8 because I had to wake up early at like 3:30.
Yeah.
I woke up before my alarm because I woke up super early.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I don't know what I did before bed, but it wasn't like, it was something I enjoyed and I was growing.
Mm-hmm.
I did those things. I woke up feeling happy. I had a great day today. Momentum was upwards. And then I do something like go on Netflix for like 2 hours and then twisting and turning in bed because I'm not letting my mind stop. And then I go to bed late, wake up. Even if I wake up at the time I want to, I woke up from an alarm, which I don't think anybody should. Like I use an alarm almost every night. Yeah. But that's just not a good way to wake up, I think.
Agreed.
And then you do those 2 different scenarios and you're like, I feel good with this one, feel bad with this one. Why do you pick the bad one? And then, I mean, the answer I would give is that immediate like dopamine that you want to get. But I don't know.
It's hard to forego immediate pleasure for long-term results.
Because it's like, it's 2 hours before you go to bed. If you program that right, I like the word program there, but if you program it in a way where you'll feel good when you wake up, that's going to set that day up to be amazing. And then once you get that momentum, you're going to start doing that more and more and more. It's going to be a great life. You're going to start thinking you're great. You're doing these things that are great to make yourself great. Yeah. It's not the reason why people don't think that they're great is because they don't think that they're doing great things. They don't realize the basics are great. How many people do you think are upset? Like,
dude, like
in an absurd amount. So when I do something that other people don't do, there's a high possibility that I'm doing something that I'll just say more. There's a high possibility that I'm doing something that somebody who's upset wouldn't do.
Right. Right.
So that's what I love hearing. Like, you're weird. Like, why do you do that?
That's what I was literally just about to say is like, I sound like a broken record with this. But it's like, if you're at a point in your life where you can relate to most people you meet at random, I'm not saying your tight circle, but most people, if you're just on the street or if you're whatever, just random people, and you can relate to them mostly, and you can easily understand how they're living their life, and
you just connect so easily.
Yeah. Like if you, like, I'll restart, I'm rambling a lot. If you can walk around and at random, you can relate to most people, you're doing it wrong. Severely wrong. If you don't constantly find yourself in conversations that maybe you're forced into, maybe just happen to fall at your feet, it's a random person, it's the chef at the store or whatever, and you are always relating to those people, you're not doing it right. I know you're not happy because most people aren't happy.
Agreed. 100%. I needed to hear that. The thing is with me, I started easily connecting with people, but I don't understand them.
That's different.
Okay.
That's what I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. That's a better way to say it. If you understand most people, you're in the wrong spot. Not the wrong spot, but you're not in a spot that's going to lead to a happy and fulfilled life.
The word that comes to my head is connect. If you could, like, somebody tells you like their life and you like really like feel that, like that's he's kind of talking about what I am.
Yeah. Here's a good example that I think about immediately is like, when you're talking to, if you can go up to random people and you'd be like, I'd want to hang out with that person. If that thought enters your mind, for most people, like, oh, I'd want to hang out with them. You're doing it wrong.
I love that, man.
You're doing it wrong, homie. Like, if they're like, hey, let's go catch a beer with some of my friends, like, we can go have some fun. Nope. 99% of the time, like, that's the biggest, because I was living at home, commuting to Central, and now I'm living on campus. And it's I knew it, but I didn't, like, fully get how many people are not living happy, fulfilled lives. Like, it's wild. It's actually wild. You know the number of people that I would actually hang out with one-on-one outside of here that I've met at Central? 4 people. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
I've met thousands. 4.
And how many of those people have you already known?
0.
Okay. So 4 new people.
4 new people.
It's crazy.
But, and it sounds egotistical. It's just the truth. If you're not in that spot, you're not, I know you're not happy and I know you're not fulfilled, and you really need to analyze why.
I think the thing that comes to me with, you said if you really want to hang out with somebody the first time you like talk to them, the thing that comes to me is there's a certain way I like to talk to people, a certain topic I like to talk to people. And if there's so many times 99% of the times I just feel like I can't do it with you. And then there's a lot of times where like I'll risk it. Like, I might sound weird, but I'm gonna be myself right now.
Right.
See how they catch it. So many people are like, okay, what about the Bucks versus the Celtics? Yeah. Like,
dude, the fucking Kardashians and shit.
I'm just like they just brush it off.
I'm like, bruh. You know, this was I shouldn't say.
Okay, the thing I was gonna say is when people brush you off, a lot of people take that as, and I had a conversation as like, they just feel upset right away.
Right.
Because that's like another human being that just said, I don't care about what you said, basically, without saying it.
Yeah.
It feels bad. But the good thing about that is you could see what type of person that is and if you should hang out with them.
100%. Yeah, there was something I was talking about. I'm keeping this very general. He's gonna know who he is, but also he's He's one of the four actually. But this is just an example of like the opposite. And we were talking about somebody who's talking to this girl, and he was like, "Oh, she doesn't have an Instagram." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's a green flag and a half. Like she doesn't even have an account." And he was like, "That's a red flag." And I'm like, "Bingo. You're the type of person I wouldn't want to spend my time with." Right? It's one example. I'm not immediately like, "Nope, not talking to you." Like, like that's not how it works. But like immediately I'm like, "You don't get it."
Because the thing is, what if
You don't get it.
What if you went to an argument right there and you didn't catch that he makes me feel bad, or he disagrees with me, so let me, I have it in my head how I want to say it, but like if you went to an agreement and didn't come to that realization that I shouldn't spend as much time with them, you would have just argued, and then you would have spent the same amount of time with them.
Yep.
You wouldn't have realized, hey, even if it was for yourself, like you guys, so the thing is, I'm trying to say is it's either two people most of the time they want to win the conversation. That's how it's going.
Right.
Like people are talking to each other. I want to win rather than trying to learn.
Right.
Even if you by yourself is like, let me take in what I can, and the other person doesn't, you could still learn a lot from that.
Right.
And it's tough. That's a hard thing to do is when you're trying to solve the problem and they're trying to just win. It's a hard thing to have a conversation with somebody like that. But you can get a lot of information like that. Don't have a conversation like that with them anymore. Don't hang out with them. Maybe not that extreme, but you start to see what type of person this is, and do you want to be that person?
Right. Yeah.
I feel great with that.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's a great place to wrap this bad boy up. Want to hit that red button for me? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 8. If you had actually made it this far, we both appreciate you listening, and I think you're going to appreciate you listening as well. Any final concluding thoughts?
No, peace. No.
That's funny.
Just watch what you're doing. Just if you're watching a video like this, just know you're in the right spot. You're in the right place.
And it's not. We don't have to explain to the people who are actually made it this far, but it's not because you're watching the Jason Scalora show. I don't give a shit if you're watching the Jason Scalora show, or if you're watching a Tony Robbins podcast, or the Ed Milet show, or Jay Shetty's On Purpose. Whatever you're watching, if you're doing it because you're aiming up and you want to live a better life, you are on the fucking path.
You're gonna make it.
Keep fucking doing it. Trust me. If there's one thing I could tell you that is doing to your brain, it is shaping you to become the best version of yourself. As corny as it sounds, but trust me. Stay consistent with that shit. Stay consistent.
You'll go places and feel feelings that you've never thought. That's it, man.
Peace.
Peace out.